we've got Bobby and Indra Williams, and the names would suggest obviously that they're married. And they're here in the capacity as couples for Christ. And so, first, you don't mind I say Bobby, do you?
That's right.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Okay, right.
That's the household name, so that's okay.
Good. So, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your wife. I think that's the first thing we need to get started off.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, once again. Sometime in 1991, my brother, who is now deceased, invited me up to go out with him. Not knowing that I would have met this beautiful and gorgeous lady. But it has been a wonderful journey thus far. If I should sit here and say that this marriage is perfect, I will be lying. We do have challenges, and sometimes we fight. Not a physical battle, but sometimes she keeps me up in the night, 2 o'clock, and we have to get through the situation. But having said all that, she's a beautiful woman. I thank God for her.
We see that.
And I thank God I get to know her. I thank God I get to know her. So as we go along, I will just share a little bit more information, but that is so far.
Very, very well. You love this guy, right?
Yes, I do. I do, and I should say that in our marriage, God has blessed us also with 2 beautiful children, and that we are really thankful for. Being the person that I am, I feel truly privileged because women, we up and down some days. I feel truly privileged to have a husband like Bobby. So understanding, because, sometimes we are on a high and you're quarreling, and sometimes I'm waiting to hear the response from him, and he would sit and look at me and then ask, "Are you finished? Are you satisfied?" And sometimes that really gets me mad. But it's really nice to know that when you're going through a situation, that you have someone that you can share that with. Someone who gives you a listening ear. Someone who understands your situation and almost tries to put himself into the situation, and to give a solution or try to remedy it by saying that you're not alone. It really is good. I thank God for that.
Great. Now, both of you have showered each other with praises already. If there's one thing you would want to change about Bobby, that one thing would be what?
His time.
Meaning?
The time, we always kind of late.
I thought I would hear that coming from Bobby, not from Indra. So she said it in the public, Bobby, you need to do a little better, wouldn't you? What about her? If there is one thing you'd want to change about Indra, what would that be?
Perhaps the honest truth is, although it's a good thing, but I think sometimes she's too spoiled. If this woman could see me 24 hours every day, that is her goal. She's just like that. Really? And so sometimes, sometimes I have to beg, give me a little breathing space. But it's good. It's good. It's very good.
Okay, let's just broaden this a little bit. You're here, Couples for Christ. In fact, you've got the logo impressed on your shirts. What is Couples for Christ all about?
Couples for Christ is a family ministry, and we basically try to strengthen family lives. If I tell you how I get involved in this, it's a whole different story. I was invited to a meeting by Mr. and Mrs. Alexander. Said they want to meet with us to have a meeting about couples. So we went to the meeting. I thought there would have been other couples there, but lo and behold, it was just Mr. and Mrs. Alexander, which I think they set me up, but we'll get to that point. And so after the meeting, I think she had asked Indra, you think Bobby might be interested? She didn't come to give me the information. She withheld that information for 2 weeks. And Mrs. Alexander approached her again. Did you ask Bobby? And she did come. And she said, Bobby, look, Mrs. Alexander would like us to be. Pastor, to be honest, usually in church, I always run away from responsibilities. And in that particular call, I just couldn't say no. So when I gave her the answer, yes, she was like in shock. Did I hear what you said? I said, yes. Go back until I said yes. And so here we are. And this ministry is the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's outside of Indra.
Well, yes, outside of her, because I guess through her, I became involved in church and so on. But this organization has make me get rid of the outer man and make me really bring out the inner man. And when I say the outer man, as men, we feel all the time he's boss. Now, I mean, there are some grounds, Pastor, you know we understand, all right? But it really bring out the humility, and that caring and compassionate side of us, you know, because sometimes, you know, we have to allow what is best for the family and not so much what is good for us. This ministry had taught me to give off of myself so much to the point sometimes I question, as the guys will have it, I'm stupid, you know, so they will say, stupidly Bobby, you know, so it has been a real humbling experience for us, and to me, it's the best organization I ever was involved in.
Right. Let's hear a little bit about the agenda for Couples for Christ. There must be some principle agenda that you have. Indra, could you share with us?
Well, to be a part of the ministry, it involves doing what you call a Christian life program. It's a weekend program where we have talks like evangelizing the family, what it means to be a Christian, loving neighbor, loving self, the Christian ID, loving God. So going through all of these programs, it gives you an opportunity really to search yourself. And at the end of it, we give you an opportunity to become a member. Once you become a member, we have weekly meetings. Most of our members, they call it their weekly medicine. Every Wednesday for the couples we meet, the handmaids on Mondays, and the youth, you know, occasionally. We choose a scripture and we speak to the scripture about how it relates to our life. And it really is a challenging thing because sometimes, you know, there's certain things in life that we take for granted. And when we look at scriptures, it questions us when we're about to do it. Is that what God said to me in his word? Am I doing the right thing? So it's like a guideline for life. And it's an awesome thing, really. It really is an awesome. When you hear the sharing, and sometimes, you know, when we do personal issues in terms of the couples, you think sometimes, oh Lord, I'm having this issue, or we're the only couple going through it. And when you listen to other couples, you get so much strength from what they say. So we really share, and from our experiences, we help each other.
It's basically designed to encourage one another.
Yes.
What about where you have very deep-rooted, challenging experiences that couples may have, and it may need a little bit more than the little discussion, so to speak? It may need maybe some sort of detailed counseling. What happens in that case?
Well, we've had several of those. We did what we could do, and I can tell you, through the prayers of our ministry, we have seen 1 or 2 marriages we have gotten it out of and taken it back to where it used to be. Those that are a bit difficult and challenging, we've had like speakers and counselors talking about issues and what you can do to, you know, to curb those issues. We've also had, within recent times, been introduced to a counselor. Because there are some extreme cases that regardless of how much you pray and you do together as a ministry, you really can't, salvage. So we have those areas, and even Monica and Ian Alexander, they are counselors within the ministry. So when it gets really a little out of our control, we refer them to. And, we pray, and prayers really work. We see it in the ministry.
Okay. Bobby, you talk about meeting on Wednesdays. Is there a specific location that you folk meet, or do you change location as the case may be?
Yeah, we change location from time to time. We go to different homes. And what we try to do is to bring God, that spiritual aspect of it, into every home possible. All right, we do that on a weekly basis. The meeting usually lasts for about 1 to 1.5 hours, but but usually we have something that we call after swallowship and fellowship.
Okay.
Swallowship is the little goodies that everybody brings us. And sometimes we leave each other home like 1, 2 o'clock and so. It's the love that exists. I mean, I'm on camera. Yeah. The love that exists in this ministry, honestly, Pastor. Sometimes I could go so far to say, and sometimes you don't see it in your relatives. We deeply and truly care for each other. We could. A member could call, whether be it 1, 2, 3 in the morning, we will be there. It was so heartening in one of the meets to hear one member say that he could go upon a mountain and jump 300 feet without looking at the bottom, and he know without any doubt there will be a member down there waiting to catch him, and that creates so much impact on my life. It's just wonderful. It's just the love and the care and the sharing. I can't find a word to describe. It's just a beautiful ministry, just beautiful.
Where do the children come in all of this? Are they part of the arrangement, or is it the strengthening of the couple which would then be transferred to the children? What's involved?
First, I'm guilty. I'm guilty, and I will tell you why I'm guilty. The sacrifices we make for Couples for Christ, the wife and I, it's real deep. And I'll say why. With these two kids that God has blessed us with, sometimes they have homework and so to do. And we will attend to God business.
They're listening, Bobby.
Yeah, no, but that is the honest truth. And sometimes God, mommy and daddy, all you have to go again. But it is the truth. But you see, what I think in life, Pastor, sometimes we find excuses to do everything else and leave God business undone. But I think it should be the other way around. You do God business, and then He will take care of your business.
Agreed.
So the kids have their group as well. So they will have their meeting once a month as well.
What do they do?
Well, it's kid stuff. They will do. They have a special program that Janelle and Wendy, Janelle Phillip and Wendy Richardson, they're in charge of the kids. But up to last week, they had sometimes they have a camp, and really teach them manners and to uplift themselves and so on. So, but I must say sometimes it hurt my heart to have to leave them home. But it is good for me, for Indra and I, because we are strengthened when we go out to get the praise and the encouragement in order to come back and take care of them. Mm-hmm. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Has
this really been taking off? You've spread it far and wide. Are people really warming up and coming on board, or do you find it a little bit on the slow side?
It's a little bit on the slow side. I honestly wish it was much wider, but I think it also, sometimes you just have to allow God to do His work. And I always say that it's better to have, Lord, I hope I'm not putting on anybody here, but I think it's better to have committed members than you have a room full of people and only 2 or 3 persons is carrying the weight. So I am blessed with the group of people that is here, and if that is what the Lord allows for now, I'm happy to work with that for now.
But I suspect that there is desire for this to go as big as possible and to grow as big as possible.
Yeah, of course, Pastor. We have been doing some outreach. We went to Guelph. We came here before to present this organization. We went to Happy Hill. And we are planning to especially for next year, to really, go out in the wider part of the country to really share this message.
And has this, or is this intended to go beyond the confines of Grenada? Or it's just
of course, it is
here?
Non-denominational. It's over 100 countries in the world. You see, when you say yes to God, Pastor, it's amazing what God could do. So I'm saying to us here, gather here, be careful when you ask God to come in, but just be ready, because He will take you places that you will never dream of, We were fortunate, I was fortunate as well to travel to different places. For example, I remember in particularly, we went to Curacao. That's our first outing. And Indra was supposed to do the praise and worship. And lo and behold, Satan played a trick, and she was not able to fulfill that role. And your humble servant, I don't know where this strength and this courage came from, but I had to go and stand up in front of about 250 people and sing and praise. And I know definitely it was not me on that stage. Well, I was just doing my thing, and thank you, Jesus. That's all I had to say.
What challenge would you, Indra, like to give to couples here? And there are couples here who obviously have issues, and those who are listening in, they've got issues, they've got challenges, and some of them have thrown up their hands in resignation. Any particular word of help and strength and encouragement that you can offer such couples?
Well, we know where there are more than one or two persons, there will be disagreement. And what might be okay with Bobby might not be okay with me. But what is important is being able to communicate those areas that you are not in agreement with, and staying committed to your communication. In other words, if I'm having a problem and I think I go to Bobby with it, Bobby should be open. That's what we do, yeah? As mentioned before. He listens, and then he would say to me, "You're wrong." And we have to accept when we're wrong, because we know that we are not perfect. I always say to Bobby how we deal with our issues. I cannot see my fault, and I would expect you as a husband to point those out to me. That's how we grow. And vice versa. And we should be mature enough that if we are having a challenge and we realize as a couple that we can't deal with it, there must be someone that we can talk to about it. I find nowadays our tolerance for each other, it is just so shallow. I mean, a simple thing as a couple, the husband coming home, just putting his shoes by the door, that could create a problem.
Yeah, because he's been told about that 20 times already.
He's been told about it 20 times. Squeezing the toothpaste, not from the bottom, but from the top. Putting a towel on the bed. All of those little issues, we all go through it. And I think we should be human enough, mature enough. We've gone through it. We had several of it. Because I was a kind of neat freak. So it used to really bother me when I see Bobby have things all over the place. But now, it really doesn't matter. As I say to him, I could be happy anyway once you're there with me. So we have to find that ground where we can be there for each other. And if we need our marriage, we have to make of our marriage what we want it to be. Only us could do it. If we need our marriage, we find that it's not working just by us trying to sort things out on our own. Seek help. They're available. And keep God.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about the toothpaste issue, because there's one woman that was one of the great grounds that she had for divorcing her husband from the United States. So she was doing it what she termed to be the right way. She was squeezing from the bottom go up. You understand? And he just didn't mind. It's a kind of manly thing, though. He would squeeze from anywhere. Men squeeze from anywhere. That's how men are. Well, if I had them to deal with, I would have simply told her just to buy another tube. So you buy another tube, and if you want to squeeze it from the bottom, go up. And very often times, things are very simple to be solved. We make them much more complicated and much more complex, but they're much easier to be solved. You were going to say something.
I would just want to say, based on the question you asked, Indra, about what advice you give. I would want to advise to couples. You have to be committed to this cause. I think people are ready to throw up their hand in the air because of a lot of simple little things and to run. And like I often say to Indra, you know, if I fall short and I make a mistake, and you are upset with me to the point that you want to cast me out, think about how Jesus, if Jesus were to cast us out, the amount of times we fall short, and, you know, what will happen to us? So we have to find that compassion within us to first of all, to respect people, to allow them to be themselves, right? But also that they should understand it's not them alone in the relationship, it's two persons. So the communication, which is key, but I get found, my thing is commitment. If marriage is going to work, we have to stay committed no matter what. You know, I think people are too quick to run away from life challenges. You know, and then sometimes you run and you end up worse than, you know, there is so much hurt and pain in divorce and a breakup. And so I pray every day that God will keep me straight and focused. That does not mean there is no challenges, Pastor. Yeah. As I said from the onset, this life is full of challenges, but I pray God every day, one day at a time, that He could keep me to walk the straight and narrow, because it's really difficult and challenging out there. I have never had I cannot recall one moment in this journey with Indra and I where I wanted to quit. And I pray God that it remained that way. As I say, the only issue that I have with this lady is because she's rotten spoiled.
Well, you know what? That's a good issue to have. We talk about the whole tolerance issue and the lack of it. We're not seeing tolerance as pronounced as we saw them in yesteryear. Things have changed quite a lot, remarkably lot. Bad, not for the better, I dare say, but for the worse. And we just can't tolerate much about people. Interestingly, a number of young people who I communicate with, they've pointed out to me that they have no desire to build a home, to build a house. I'm talking about a physical building. And quite interestingly, they tell you up front, we're not sure we want to build because we're not sure where this relationship is going to go. So folk would get married, they would rent, because let's assume 10 years down the line, you get fed up with each other, then the thing has to be split down the middle, as the case may be, and there might be some other compromise involved. And that has become a real issue and a real challenge. People are afraid to be ultimately committed, just per chance something down the road may happen. And it really is sad, but that's what we're facing today, because this stick-to-itiveness, this ability to fight, to stay there, to remain on the cross until it is finished. People do want to come down prematurely, and we do understand when things are done prematurely what happens. There are so many causes, so many different detrimental things that can happen when indeed you abort things, when you don't stick with it and make sure you come through successfully. I think this is very good for couples. I think it's something that you folks should continue to go along with. It's a great organization. And I would really believe and challenge people who are listening that they should get involved and to help to strengthen the relationship. Any further details you'd want to give us, maybe in closing, your challenge to others and how they can get involved?
Just to go back a little bit on what you just said. In terms of husband and wife wanted to build or to do things together. My wife and I does not have no separate account. Everything we own is on both of us there. I don't believe in this. I have this there and I have that there. I made a commitment to this lady and to God And so everything we have is on each other's name. God forbid he take me out of this world now, she don't have no problem to run around. And I said, I will say it again in front of the audience here, if she have to kick me out today or tomorrow, all I need is my piece of van, and I'm moving. I'm not looking to fight for anything, because I believe if God really is truly present, he will keep us. And if the love that we attest to and say we love each other, we will stay together. We will overlook the faults and look at the reason why we are together in the first place. All right? And I think this is the part that really keeps us together. We got married in June 1996. Right? Laura Lee, which is the first daughter, she came in 2001. So we had 5 years of honeymoon. 5 years of honeymoon. I want to say honeymoon, I'm talking about the real honeymoon.
Right.
So I think that was the foundation, and together with all these beautiful people here, Mr. and Mrs. Alexander, the support, the church support, and friends, Brian and Elizabeth. I mean, we've been joining together for the last almost 20 years.
Okay.
And we really stick to each other. So if I had to confess again, I would say to you, baby, I love you. And thank God for bringing us together in 1991. I truly, truly love you.
Ain't this nice?
And
you know, Indra was actually blushing in the whole thing.
And for the organization, I will want, I know it's not every one is, it might be possible for everybody to get involved, but as I said from the onset, is the best thing that ever happened to me. The love I see exists among CFC members. I haven't seen it in any other organization. So I really hope that people can really come to a meeting, come to an assembly, and just see what the organization is about. And I pray, God, that everybody have a wonderful week. Stay safe. God bless. Thank you for having us.
All right. Just one more. Any meeting place in the vicinities? No?
Well, we meet in the upper room. That's near the church.
That's where?
We have
You've got to be specific now.
at Blessed Sacrament Church in Grand Dance on the beach. The room next to the church.
Okay.
We have our assemblies there once a month, the last Wednesday in every month. So that's where we are. But if you want to be, well, Brian and Liz is here. If they want to do the Christian Life program, just let Brian and Liz know, and we're always open. Yeah.
My Bobby Indra, thanks a lot. Let's give them a round of applause.